Hello children, today is the 7th of April. Let's begin our lesson. The topic of our lesson, who was the first to do it? So, you can find this material on page 128. Okay, here you can see famous people. So today we will talk about prominent people who brought contribution to the history of the country, and name of the topic is who was the first to do it. By the way, what the famous people do you know in England? So you can see some famous people on this slide. Here is Winston Churchill, Queen Elizabeth II, and Margaret Thatcher, the famous person of England. So what famous person can you name? Write under the video in comments. Okay, so now page 28. There are people who are known as the first, the last, or the only ones to do something. So your task is to listen and tell me what made these people known. Please close your eyes and listen and tell me what made these people known. Okay, let's listen.
Lesson 2. Who was the first to do it?
Exercise 1, Part 1, page 128. There are people who are known as the first, the last, or the only ones to do something. What made these people known?
Okay. I'm sorry for these technical problems. So let's read together. So he was the first European to land in North America in the 11th century. Alfred the Great was the only English king to have the epithet the Great in his name. He was the first Welshman to have the title of Prince of Wales. So what made these people known? The first European to land, the only English king to have the epithet, was the last Welshman to have the title. So look at these phrases. Can you see something the same? So it is the verb to be in past simple, the word, the ordinary number, first, the only, the last, and to, yes, to land, to have, to have. So today we will speak about infinitive as
an attribute. Инфинитив в качестве определения. Инфинитив может использоваться для того, чтобы сообщить о лице или предмете особую или специфическую информацию, которая ставит их в ряд первых the first, вторых the second, третьих the third и так далее, или единственных the only, последних the last, совершивших какое-либо действие. Например, полярные летчики Анатолий Лепедевский, Сигизмунд Ливаневский, Василий Молоков, Николай Каманин, Маврикий Слепнев, Михаил Водопьянов, Иван Доронин были первыми, кто был удостоен звания Героя Советского Союза. На английском языке такое предложение звучит приблизительно так. Paul Pallas, Анатолий Лепедевский, Сигизмунд Ливаневский, Василий Молоков, Николай Каманин, Маврикий Слепнев, Mikhail Vodopyanov, Ivan Doronин were the first to be awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union. Необходимо отметить, что в данном случае инфинитив переводится как придаточное предложение с определением, вернее, определительное придаточное предложение, кто был удостоен звания Героя Советского Союза. To be awarded infinitive. To be awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union — это инфинитивный оборот.
Мгм. Хорошо, спасибо. А теперь давайте потренируемся. Do you know what these people did? Let's match. Давайте с вами сопоставим. Что же сделали эти люди? Давайте нажмем на паузу видео и попробуем сделать самостоятельно. So do it yourself. And now let's check. So, Richard Burbage was the first English actor to play the role of Hamlet. Second, Elizabeth I was the last Tudor monarch to rule England. Next, third, Captain James Cook was the first European to visit Australia. Okay, next, fourth, third, Robert Falcon Scott was the second European to come to the South Pole in 1912. John Logie Baird was the first inventor to show television in 1926. Okay, next, 6. Elizabeth Garriott Anderson was the first English woman doctor to treat people. Treat — это лечить, да? 7th, Harrison Smith was the only scientist to visit the moon. Обратите внимание на слова. The South Pole, the moon. Определенный артикль мы здесь используем, да, с предметами, вещами, которые в единственном числе. The only one in the world. И также с названиями планет и полюсов. Так, okay, next. So, on page, here are the answers on what do we do. Next, on page 130, exercise number 2, you can do it yourself and check with this video. Okay, next. Say it with your own words using infinitive. World's first. Да, что было первым? Да, использует наше правило, которое мы только что с вами разобрали. Итак, world's first digital camera, 1975. Created by Kodak's engineer Steve Sasson. Okay, let's make sentence. Давайте попробуем сделать предложение. Используя инфинитивную конструкцию. Используя нашу конструкцию новую. So, Kodak's engineer Steve Sasson was the first to create the first digital camera in 1975. Here you can see our construction. The verb to be, past simple, the first, infinitive. Next. Motel Inn in San Luis Obispo, California is the world's first motel. It was built in 1925 by Los Angeles, architect Arthur Heinemann. Okay, do it yourself, and now let's check. The architect Arthur Heinemann was the first to design a motel inn in San Luis Obispo in California. So you may read more in using this information. Okay, next. The man who invented the first smile is Scott Foreman in the early 1980s. Do it yourself. Now let's check. Scott Foreman is the first to invent the first smile. The first motorcycle was designed and built by the German inventors Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach in Bad Cannstatt, Stuttgart in 1885. Do it yourself. And then the German inventors Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach were, because of plural, the first to design and build the first motorcycle. World's first computer mouse, 1964, by Douglas Engelbart. Douglas Engelbart is the first to use world's first computer mouse. Here you can see the construction is the first to use. Designed in 1938 by the famous General Motors designer Halley Earl, the Buick Y job is concerned by most to be the first concept car. So Halley Earl, a famous General Motors designer, was the first to design the Buick Y job. So construction was the first to design. So your home task. You may send it on my email or using the electronic diary, but it is better to use email, or you may find my profile in the VK. So your task is, so here are the only to do. What? Write 10 sentences. Choose 10 people and write why why are they only to do? What are they only to do? Итак, еще раз. Выбираем 10 человек и пишем 10 предложений, что они сделали единственного в мире. So you may use this information. I hope you like our lesson. See you on Thursday.